I'm Chris.
And this is
Combat Creations.
Ding. Hey everybody, welcome back. Check this out.
This is so cool. we've been working on our helms, continuing on, building some helms that we've been doing this season, and now we're ready for a little bit of cleanup and preparation. Be careful, there's water on the table. Don't get it on your books.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I've been using these actually for reference for my character that I'm actually developing right now.
Yeah. So what you may not have seen in the interim there is we did get the last pieces of just helm together. We finished off a secondary helm or secondary horn from what we were doing last time, and got them added on. A little bit of the mushrooms with the foam clay. We did find that
fungus.
We did find that the foam clay is a little bit brittle. I mean, it's got some flex to it, but not much, so we have to be a little bit careful with it while we're doing what we're doing. I tried hitting the front of mine with just a little bit of Plastidip to double check kind of how things were going. I finished sanding down some spots that I wanted to sand down. And we're prepping today before we're painting. And we want to, if we just put Plastidip and paint on this, it's a possibility that we could do that, but we definitely need to seal the foam first, or some of that's going to soak in. It's going to be kind of hard to use. It's not going to take paint real well. And I noticed, I wonder if I've got one of those horns. The horns that I was making last time, we've got one of those. And we hit it with some Plastidip and painted it up. I gave it a little texture there. You can kind of see it was coming out pretty darn good.
It is.
But what I found is that for some reason, the glue that we were using, the barge cement, once we hit it with the Plastidip, it was kind of separating just a little bit. Not enough to really be a problem on the piece, but it was something that I had to kind of fiddle with a little bit on these horns. That's the first time I've ever heard of that happening, so it may have just been something with the humidity that we currently had around where we were doing this. But to be on the safe side, we want to be sure everything is sealed up real good before we put real coats of Plastidip on.
Exactly.
And there are a couple of ways to do that. One of the most common is to hit it with a heat gun all over and just go over the whole thing, and it heat seals it, which is a good way to go about it.
But it's going to take forever for yours, and especially mine, with the amount of detail we're going for.
Ultimately, well, yeah, there's a little bit of detail going on in yours, and I just want to, because of what it was doing with the Plastidip there, I want to try and avoid that. And the best way to avoid that is by covering the seams completely. Okay. And so the way to do that is that we can put a sealant coating on it. And while a lot of people will use Mod Podge for that, which is really good, essentially Mod Podge is kind of a watered down glue. Yeah, and so we just have some white glue from the dollar store, a little bit of water, and we've got a bowl of our own version of it, which will work just fine for us. And so what we do with this is we brush it on to the foam, and it seeps down a little bit in the edge of the foam, and it makes a nice seal over the whole thing, and a basis for us to Plastidip and paint over that's going to bring the whole thing together a lot more.
And potentially when we're doing this as well, it will kind of help us develop some a little bit more of the kind of water resistant, not waterproof, water resistant of your materials. So if you happen to be in outfit and such like that, and you are walking in the rain, if it does get wet, at least it won't damage it too much. But no, it was really neat when you were explaining this about the white glue and the mixture with the water and so forth, soaking it around the whole entire helmet. If you guys can kind of see, if we can get the pan camera over here, you can kind of see the information what we're talking about is like how we went ahead, and I've used big giant pieces to go ahead and kind of go in with the little clay here, and then also it's hardened up a little bit, not too much, but you'll definitely see that everything right here is that it actually helped seal this whole entire piece. And then when we used the clay, we decided to put a little bit of fungus on here. So I put some shrooms, and then also a little like that weird sponge fungus that you see that just grows.
Yeah.
It looks like a rippling effector or something like that. It's
I love
really
that stuff.
Strange. But I'm really liking about my helmet is that
if I had a fungus to put on your helm, that's what it would be.
What I really like is that I actually took one of my horns. Instead of having two full horns, I cut one off on like about quarter way down and kind of.
Two notice, not four.
See, when I was doing it, I was gonna have four horns, But then I realized how big these horns were, so I was like, okay, I need to give this kind of character. So what exactly are you doing over here with yours?
So basically, what I've done is I just poured some glue into a bowl and added a little bit of water to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to get it real watery, just a little bit there to kind of thin out the glue just a little bit. And I'm just brushing it on. And even though we're going to see some of the brush marks and stuff at the moment, this is self-leveling, so those are going to go away. And even if for some reason you've got some little marks in there, before you plastered it, you can take some super light sandpaper and just fix that up a little bit.
So we're just lightly grazing over the whole entire helmet with this water and glue. Now, how much water and glue are you supposed to use when you're developing this kind of technique?
Well, as I said, we just put a bunch of glue in a bowl and add a little bit of water until it's just kind of thinned out so we can brush it on. The amount isn't crazy important. It's not like you're going to mess things up by having the wrong amount there. If it's too thin, it's going to take a lot longer to dry. If it's too thick, it's just going to be a little more difficult to brush on and get a nice thin coat.
Yeah. So I like it. It kind of gives it almost like that glossy look for right now, but eventually it will start, you know.
And the glossiness actually, until we paint it, that glossiness is going to kind of stay there. Not as much as we currently have, but if you wanted to seal something with foam and then make sure that that you had a little bit of a gloss look to it, you could actually go ahead and leave it this way and then forget the plastic dip and just paint straight on it to kind of keep some of that shine.
Oh, okay. No, I totally understand what you're talking about. Yeah, I really like the way this is developed. If we can go ahead and get the camera on or my helmet here, you can see that when we put the clay on, is that we want to be as, you know, carefree as possible in regards to this. So we have to be definitely delicate because it's still, you know, before I even put plaster dip on it, it's still pretty, you know, well, what is the word? Delicate. There we go.
Yeah.
I like this.
So just brush.
So this is really interesting because this is actually a little bit different from the idea that I wanted to go with my design. In which, when we tell everyone, hey, you know, when you want to start on a piece and everything else like that, you can see right here how we go ahead. And there's like a weird little hose here. Well, this whole entire horn is broken, and you can see that's completely hollowed inside right here. So I'm actually putting a lot of development right here as if something was like repaired on the helmet for the horn to stick through. And basically I'm going to kind of work onto this and such. I feel like this character has never taken his helmet off. So he's just kind of repaired it with his head on. I mean, you got the whole piece right here in the middle and stuff like that.
Smacked it while he was wearing it. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that of you.
Trolls would do that. I would do that. Now, with this glue, I definitely want to hit the horns as well, correct?
Yeah. Just go over the whole thing. I'm not going to go over the inside of mine.
Nah.
Because that's not important. But I did go over the whole outside of it. I'll let it sit for just a little bit and put another coat on here and just a few so that it gets nice and coated. The real nice thing about using the glue or even using the Mod Podge, it's not like you're getting toxic junk everywhere. If some gets on your hands or stuff, you just wipe it off. And even if you get some drying on your hands or drying on the tail, you just peel it off because it's just essentially a form of white glue.
Okay.
So not a big thing there. Yeah, they got some good brushing going on. And these foam. So in doing this,
brushing.
The glue. I went to the dollar store before coming here. I think they know me on Tuesdays, and so you know, a couple of white glue for $1. Wood glue is even better if you have some.
Really?
Because it's better.
Well,
it's a better glue.
But you think with wood glue though, if we would use that, wouldn't it expand and so forth like that, and kind of put something like that? What glue am I thinking of? The expanding glue.
You're thinking of the Gorilla Glue.
Gorilla Glue.
Gorilla Glue expands out. No, not
Don't
that.
Don't use Gorilla Glue,
Straight
guys.
Up, wood glue is a.
It's terrifying when
wood glue is a thicker version of white glue. It's a stronger version, and so it would make a stronger coating over the whole thing. You can do the same thing with that. So I found that. I found some bowls. I found some little sponge brushes, all at the dollar store. So it's just a couple bucks to make this happen, and this is going to help seal everything and make it a good base for us to paint on.
Okay. Now, what I'm doing, I'm not going to go on the inside, but I am going to go on the inside of my horn since it is opened up until I can actually fill it with something.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I thought it would eventually start helping.
I mean, it's just glue. It's not like it's, it's just white glue. It's not like it's going to hurt anything to make that happen.
No, not at all.
Now, there's not a huge amount of flex with this stuff, so we want to make sure we get everything kind of where we want it. My helm is kind of looking a little lopsided. I think it's been sitting in the car a little bit too much there. And I can still kind of tweak that back a little bit after we've done this. It's not going to hurt anything. And even if it does, I can re-hit it with some more white glue before I hit it with the Plastidip and paint. So not a big problem there. Now this horn, it didn't. We didn't actually seal it. I just started hitting and painting it because it was just a side project while Jeff was playing catch up. But they definitely, it came out real well, and the other one's still finishing up with its paint job at my house. I'm gonna have to do something with them because they just a little bit more painting on there. I should probably bring these on paint day and hit them at the same time while I'm finishing this up. This is a secondary project. Put them on some sort of a headpiece, and those are excellent.
I like that. And, I've actually noticed is like when I was gluing the horns on and everything, they've kind of taken its own little texture, like as they dry out. Like the tip of this is like having, some of it. So all I have to do is go back in, repair it just a little bit of glue. That will tap. But I actually like the whole entire, when I was molding it, it actually molded to itself and kind of gave this curved type of look
that
to
whole
it,
shape, yeah.
which I really like. It actually started on here as well. So whatever happened to this character, I like how this horn is actually indented and then also broken off, which is really neat.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is pretty cool. I really like the way we've actually developed our characters and so forth. And what I've been doing is that I've been doing some research of my own and going about, I love playing D&D and so forth. So I kind of brought out my books tonight. And I've been kind of going back and forth on my D&D books, like, all right, like the illustrations they have in these fantasy-type games is just fantastic. Like, I've been looking at the Monster Guide manual and been kind of looking for, like, all right, well, that person has this kind of headpiece and has some of this kind of jewelry off and such. I'm actually thinking about going back, and with this horn, I almost want to get, like, 2 big giant loops and actually look like it's pierced up here and so forth.
What those books are really good for, a lot of the fantasy art, while pretty, is completely impractical to do, to wear in any way, shape, or form. But
entirely. The
little details that they throw in there, just because the artist felt like it, those sort of things you can get some real good ideas from.
And it also really helps me with like different kind of colors and such like that because this is the headpiece of the character I'm making. I already have an outfit, so I'm definitely gonna match my outfit to the headpiece. But I want to make the headpiece a little bit more than what the generic colors I'm going to be wearing. So by the end of our season, when we got these headpieces done, I'm gonna be in full outfit for this. But no, it's fascinating the amount of detail and even the littlest work. Like there's like a few dots right here. I mean, anything you can go up close to this. I want people to come up close to this piece and be like the whole entire time, just like looking at this and seeing how much of a detail it gone in.
Oh yeah.
With yours, and I was actually looking at some of the books. There's like there's some like pieces that are like. This is shining bright up on here, like where a jewel is or something, and that's what you've kind of discussed yourself, right? That you wanted something to light
we're gonna have a jewel on top, and actually we're gonna add some bits. I'm talking and painting at the same time here. When we get to painting and decoing it out, I've got some ideas for the trim that I've had for several weeks now, because I want a little bit of trim around the face. Something to really set it off, and I've got some ideas on that are still a surprise. Still gotta wait around for that.
I'm looking forward to what you got, because I got a little surprise on my end as well. So we'll definitely see how this goes. And I'm actually gonna kind of give a slight little hint of it. Let's just say that we're gonna have to figure out how to get this to be fireproof, because Chris, I'm gonna need your help on that. So not much of a surprise, but hey, I'm going to need your help because this is foam, and I definitely don't want my head to catch on fire. So hopefully we'll get to a point where we can get that.
The neat thing is, I'm totally not worried about your head catching on fire, and it's your helm. So I'm cool with you getting caught on fire.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. I'm very
so
happy
long
that
as
I
we
know
can
I'm
make
cared.
something in the end. As long as it's
we'll make something in the end.
We'll turn your ashes into another helm.
Well, I was kind of looking at the kobolds on D&D. You know how they always have candles on their heads and such?
Sure.
All right. So I was kind of looking at it. Once we get everything situated and everything decorated, I'm going to have to do some repairs on this. But broken horn. What better way than put a candle in my broken horn? How hilarious would that be?
Nice.
That was my piece I really want to go for. Yours, I kind of already got a feeling what we're going to go for with that, which I'm really looking forward to see what it looks like in the end.
Sure.
But I think, it's like, okay, cool, going around and you have a candle lit outside of your horn. I mean, it's broken off. What else are you going to use it for? A bird nest?
Yeah.
No offense.
So while we were talking, I put a
If you're out
second
there,
layer.
No offense.
I put a second layer on mine. Later on, between this episode and next episode, I may put 1 or 2 more layers on.
Okay.
Just to kind of give it a little more rigidity there, especially since it's such a large piece. I want to make sure that.
So you think I should do another
set.
coat on mine eventually, or just leave it the way it is? Because I think it's actually pretty good.
It's coming out really well. I don't know that we need it. So what we're gonna do the next time, between here and there, we're actually gonna do some steps that we're not showing, and the reason we're not showing it is that
we only have so much time in our season.
Watching paint dry is boring.
Yep.
And we keep doing fumes like that, we're going to get kicked out. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a substance called Plastidip, which is a spray-on rubbery substance.
If you actually go back into our past seasons, you actually have seen us use Plastidip, and it does take some time for it to dry out. Even Instafoam or otherwise. I mean, some of these substances, it takes a while. And yeah, it is kind of boring. You're like, what am I doing?
And the plastic takes about 30 minutes to dry between coats, but you want a good 3 or 4 coats on there, even after we've done this subcoating. And then, so we're just going to spray that on and just let it sit, right? It's also self-leveling. Once it's on, we're going to hit it with a bit of base coat. Just one color on each one, just to give it some color. We're going to go back in and do some additional painting, some detail work, and all sorts of stuff. But we want to give it just a base coat to start with, and the easiest way to do that is with little rattle can paint, which is just not something that we can do here. So between episodes, we'll skip ahead just a little bit and use the Plastidip and use the base paint color, and then as we come back, we'll start with making them prettier than they are, and really adding to things, and bringing them together a lot more than they look at the moment.
Overall, I think this is going to be a really fun project. I really like the reference book that I'm using to see what I kind of want to add to my character, what kind of elements that can be put into this whole entire source. Because, you see the helmet, and once we get all that Plastidip on and everything else like that, I'm going to go into painting, and not only that, once this is done painting, I'm going to also come back in. I'm going to attach some other items to this as well. So, because you see there's like a little random weird hose that kind of put around this helmet. I feel like this character has really just worn his helmet. He just never took it off, so we repaired it that way on his own noggin.
Sure.
And, he falls asleep in maybe caves or trees and moss. Trolls fall asleep forever, right? And they wake up and there's stuff growing on them. So it's both sides of the helmet are going to look a little bit different from the other ones.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and I didn't use a bunch of manuals there, but mine is kind of based off of Warhammer elves, and so mentally I had seen a lot of that sort of thing. And while the helm is a lot more sleek and less in the little details like that, I can still get some other detail in and some other bits and stuff to really set it off as an elven look, and kind of bring it together. So you don't necessarily, so you can go from either end of the spectrum on our helms, tall, short, pile of stuff, almost no stuff.
I think I've definitely gone away from the Warhammer type fantasy and just going along with my own imagination vision. Right. But with yours, I completely see it with the tall helms and everything on how the elves were. So I'm really looking forward to this. Is your character more of a royalty type, or is it more of a like a majestic to where it's like in magical sorts or anything?
I'm honestly thinking a rank and file sort of guy.
Okay, cool. Mine's very forest type troll, lives in the forest and such like that, and things just happen and trees
That's
fall
the story
on him.
of your life.
And
you live in the woods and things just happen.
You know, as someone who goes to local Renaissance fairs for a living, yeah, yep, things just happen, guys. It's a story. I really like all the elements that we've really used before with all this stuff, and I think this is one of our best projects that we've done. Now, we've done headpieces in the past, but we showed you what we can do with that headpiece in less than 30 minutes. This one has taken our whole season, where we've started from start to drawing it, doodling it on piece of paper to finish, and I'm really looking forward to the whole outcome of all of this.
Yeah, we're using some really good stuff.
Now, where do we get the patterns again? What was
so the pattern
again?
for yours was from Kamiyu Cosplay. The
Shout
patterns
out.
for the horns that we used were from Kamiyu Cosplay. The helmet pattern was free.
Okay.
The horn patterns to download was like $5.
It's not bad.
So yeah, it's really good. The pattern for this one we created here on one of our previous episodes. So if you're looking for that to see how that was done, yeah, hop
Kaiju
on
Labs Media.
hop on the
YouTube.
Kaiju and go check it out. But basically, we just made a form and then coated in foil and kind of sketched things out from there. If I were to do this helm a second time, I'd probably play with a little bit of the pattern in a couple of places. But honestly, I kind of like where it's going with things, so I probably wouldn't do a whole lot to it, really.
I'm really liking the way where this is going. I'm looking forward to see what the finished product is. These horns are huge.
They are. They are really, really big. I'm kind of glad that you went with 2 and not 4.
With the size that these are, yeah. I was like, okay, I want to be a little bit unique and different.
I'm gonna take this one here and
just,
be a unicorn.
Oh, stop my ear! What's wrong with you?
That's
oh my
what I was
gosh.
aiming for, and I couldn't see because unicorns can't see. They just
unicorns can see.
Well, they can, but they can't see what it is that they're poking.
Chris, this is a family show.
Unicorns! Unicorns are just fine. There's no problem with unicorns.
Word. Well, if you would like, I can look them up in a monster manual and explain exactly what is wrong with a unicorn. Please tell me there's... Oh, page 294. You want to know what's exactly wrong with a unicorn?
I know exactly what's wrong with my co-host.
There's a lot of things wrong with your co-host. Where is this page? Whoa. There's so... Oh, there we go. Wow. Oh, look. Troll. Wow, that troll... That's a really ugly...
Yeah, that troll doesn't have a helm on at all.
That troll is not what I was going for. Okay, unicorns!
Now we'll get a lesson in unicorns.
No, we're not going to get a lesson in unicorns. So basically, guys, remember...
You have to go to certain websites for that.
Wow. So guys, just remember, when you're working on these projects, don't rush through them unless you're at convention cosplay and such. Use that hot glue. Right now, we're not using any hot glue because hot glue can only stick for so long.
Hot glue is hot.
Hot glue is very hot. I have scars to prove it.
1 per finger.
More like 3 per finger.
Yeah, and this particular episode, we didn't get really far as what it looks like, but honestly, the coats and letting this stuff dry at this point, this is a huge thing. It's a big step in the process of these. It's trust me, it's real hard for us not to just straight up hit it with paint and start playing.
I have so many things I want to attach to this, but I have to wait till the straw is out.
Yep. You just gotta have. That's actually why Netflix puts out shows like they do, is they wait for one to start coming out, get to a point, set it aside, watch some TV, and we're almost out of time there.
We are. But you know what? Overall, I think we've definitely gotten a lot of progress over this whole entire season of where we want our pieces to go for. I'm really looking forward to the end of them to see what the finished product looks like. And it's great because now we can go back and use our shows as reference and material.
Yep.
You want to learn
and
how,
you can too.
Yep. You want to learn how to make this? Just check out all this information and see our previous
Kaiju
shows.
Media. Next up is Brad's Red Web.
In the meantime,
we were just on Mary Sue, and if you go back and watch that, you can send messages to Mary Sue to tell them how wrong they were.
Nope, they were not wrong at all. I won the bragging rights to that show, buddy.
Look,
hello,
man,
Star Trek Voyager was my title.
About butter.
Bragging rights. Don't want to hear it. Anyways, guys, I'm Jeffrey.
I'm Chris.
And this is Combat Creations.
Continue crafting.